Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. We decided to take a very last minute impromptu trip to the Pigeon Gatlinburg, Tennessee area. So the first few meals I'm going to show you are from that little weekend trip, and I'll share a couple other pictures from the trip as well. If that's not something you're interested in, totally get it. Check the description box below for the timestamps and you can skip on to the dinners. And I always have a link to my What's for Dinner video playlist down in the description box below as well, so you can check that out for lots and lots and lots of yummy, easy weeknight meals that are budget friendly and easy to make. So let me show you what meals we had this past week. First up is the little Pigeon Forge trip, and like I said, we decided to do this last minute. Gary has been working a lot lately, and I could tell he was getting stressed out and burnt out, and so we decided to take a couple days and just step away from work and spend time with each other and with Happy and Pepper. So by the time we found a cabin, got everything packed and got to Pigeon Forge, it was right around dinner time. We hadn't eaten all day, and so we just ordered in from a restaurant I found on DoorDash. I think it was called Roma's Italian Kitchen. I was in the mood for pasta. So here's what we ordered. Gary got an Italian sandwich. It was on ciabatta and it had a creamy herb Italian dressing on it. It was delicious. I tried a couple bites of the sandwich. It was so good. And then for his side, you could choose between several different things. He chose the fettuccine with pesto Alfredo, and it was so good. The pesto Alfredo was just delicious. And then he really had a craving for pizza, and so we just did a small kids pepperoni pizza, and we ate half of it between us this night, and then we ate the other half as a snack later on in the week while we were there. And then for my entree, like I said, I was really wanting pizza, so I got this bucatini pasta with a rosa sauce, and it had shrimp, scallop, and crab in it. And it was so big and so filling. Again, ate less than half of it, had half left over again for another day. And like I said, everything that we had here was delicious. So I imagine going into the restaurant and having it would even be, more fresh. So if you're in that area, I recommend you give it a try. Again, I think it was called Roma's Italian Kitchen. Gary and I typically aren't big breakfast people, especially really sweet things in the morning, but I've been craving banana pancakes. So we went to a place called Flapjack's Pancake Cabin, and if you've ever been to that area, there's like a million of them in the Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area. They're like every block or so. And so I can't remember which of the 12 million locations we went to, but I got the banana pancakes, and then it came with scrambled eggs, and I got sausage, and Gary got just the regular buttermilk pancakes, and he got scrambled eggs and bacon, and it was delicious. So good. We've been wanting to go to Buc-ee's since we first saw them about 7 or 8 years ago when we traveled to Texas, and we kept seeing Buc-ee's signs up and down the interstate, and we were like, what is Buc-ee's? And when we got home, Gary Googled it, and he was like, oh, it's like a really huge gas station or convenience store. We tried to go to one when we were on our way back home from Florida, and it was just so busy. We went in there and we really couldn't look at anything because it was so crowded. So when we saw the one that was completed in Pigeon Forge, we were like, gotta go in there. And if you've never been, again, it's like the biggest convenience store gas station you can imagine. They have so many different things. So if you see one, if you live near one, you've never been, or you see one on a vacation, stop in. They're really cool. They're crowded, but they're really cool. Here's an overview of most everything we got. Off to the side, not pictured, Gary picked up a bag of their beaver nuggets, which if you aren't familiar with those, they're kind of hard to explain. It's almost got the texture of like a Cheeto puff, but a little bit crunchier. But it's not savory at all. They're very, very sweet, like almost a butterscotchy taste, and they are super addictive. We had gotten a recommendation from my mom and dad to try their chopped brisket sandwich, and I'd seen a lot of people online talk about that, so we definitely wanted to pick that up. And then, of course, while we were there, we saw several other things. They had several different kinds of burritos. I thought the Texas cheesesteak burritos sounded good, so I grabbed that. Mom and Dad say that their breakfast burritos are really good. We saw this club melt, so we got that, and then we got 2 of the chopped brisket sandwiches. I saw this baked potato salad and thought that looked good, so I grabbed that. Gary thought that this chicken salad looked yummy, so he picked that up, and then he grabbed a hot dog. And then I didn't mean to pan over to Pepper. The camera just followed my gaze because he knows better than to get up on a chair at a table like that. But I think he thought because it was vacation, he could get away with it. But once he saw he was caught, you saw how quickly he got down. That Philly cheesesteak burrito, and I loved this. Gary thought it was good, but I really loved this. We kind of grazed a little bit on everything for lunch, and then we ate some of the leftovers that night for dinner, and then we also took some of the stuff home and ate it for lunch the next day or two after we got back. The chopped brisket sandwiches, delicious, so insanely good. That club melt, we did not love that at all. It was very, very sweet somehow tasting. Why do I keep wanting to say corn dog? The hot dog, Gary said it was good, just basic hot dog. The salad that he got, he really liked. He said he really liked the dressing. It was like a avocado ranch style dressing. And then let's see, what else did we get? Oh, the loaded baked potato salad. That was delicious. It was really good. So overall, most everything was good, just not that club melt. If you see that, I would pass on that. That night, we just hung out at the cabin. It was storming really bad, and it was pouring rain. I mean, just pouring. Dollywood ended up flooding, and other parts of the area flooded. Happy and Pepper, like most dogs, don't love storms, but especially Pepper. Little Pepper, he just gets so scared, and anytime there's a storm, he just snuggles right up to Happy. It's so sweet and adorable. Okay, so the next day we went driving. We drove all through Pigeon Forge and went into Gatlinburg, into the Smoky Mountain National Park, and here are just a couple pictures that I took along the way that I thought were pretty. The first one was at the mill in Pigeon Forge, and then a couple shots of just the street and mountains in Gatlinburg. And then for lunch that day, when we go on vacation, we try to eat at places that like we've never eaten before, or get things that we can't eat back home. And I came across this restaurant. I think it was technically in Sevierville, maybe Pigeon Forge, but it was called Roll On In. And it's a Mexican, like Japanese fusion restaurant. And oh my gosh, I wish they had one of these closer to us. Everything we had was delicious, and we loved the concept. It was basically like Chipotle meets sushi, hibachi, that kind of thing. So we got several different things to try out. First up, we got their wonton nachos, which were fried wonton chips, and then teriyaki chicken, slaw, corn, a spicy mayo, and a sweet soy sauce with green onions. And then we got their wonton tacos, which were basically the same thing as the nachos, just in a taco form. Gary got one of their sushi burritos. He got the dino burrito. It had spicy tuna, spicy salmon, corn salsa, cucumber, spinach, spicy mayo, sweet soy, and then it had crunchy tempura flakes in it. I tried Gary's burrito, and it was really good, but we both loved my burrito. I got a hibachi steak burrito. It had fried rice, yum sauce, teriyaki steak. It had corn. It had some like crispy wonton strips. It was delicious. It was so good. We'll definitely go back next time and keep our eyes out, because I think the lady said that this is a chain. I think she said, though, that most of them are in the Ohio area. But yeah, it was really good. So for dinner that night, we tried a restaurant called Harpoon Harry's. When Gary and I went years ago, Harpoon Harry's was just opening. We actually went to their soft launch that night, and it was really good. We really liked it. The last couple times we went to Pigeon Forge, Gary's wanted to go, and we just hadn't gotten around to it. But this time, I looked at the reviews, and the reviews were kind of mixed on it. And so I told Gary, I was like, I'm not really sure, but let's give it a try. And yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't necessarily great. There were highs and lows. But first up, the restaurant itself is beautiful. They do these wood carvings all throughout the restaurants, the tables and things like that. There are statues everywhere. They're gorgeous. But to start out, we got their, I think, crab tots. It was shredded potatoes with crab, and then they had a remoulade sauce. I really liked them with the remoulade sauce. Gary said they were okay, not his favorite. And then Gary ordered their house salad, which their house salad, the description really intrigued us because I'd never really seen a house salad like this before. So it was mixed greens, tomatoes, and carrots, which you might think duh, Megan, that's pretty standard. But then they had beets, feta cheese, and then a poppy seed dressing. And I'd actually never had beets before. And so Gary let me try the salad, and it was delicious. I really loved all the different flavor combinations, and he really loved it. So the salad was so good. Gary got their steam pot, which was a good value price-wise, but it was really disappointing. The seafood was, so like we got there right as they were opening for dinner, and so you would think the seafood boil would have come out like piping hot, and it wasn't. It was, I don't want to say cold, but I mean it was like lukewarm temperature at best. And the Old Bay butter that they brought out, I don't know, it was weird tasting, and the seafood was overcooked, most of it. The crab was really good, but the mussels and the clams and the shrimp are overcooked. But Gary just doused it in some cocktail sauce. And I told him send it back, and he's like, no, I'll make it work. So he was fine with that. And then for my entree, I got a crab stuffed flounder, and it had like a sherry sauce on it. The crab stuffed flounder with the sherry sauce was delicious. It came with rice and baby spinach. I substituted some cheddar grits, which were off to the side, for the rice. And the baby spinach, when it said baby spinach on the menu, I guess I just assumed it would be like wilted spinach or cooked into the sauce or something, but it wasn't. They literally just laid down a bed of baby spinach on the plate, didn't dress it at all. And it just kind of got like weirdly stringy. I don't know. It was odd. But the rest of it, the grits and the fish and the sauce was really, really good. So yeah, like I said, highs and lows, mixed reviews. But you know what? I told Gary we were blessed to be able to come on the trip and to go out to dinner. And, not all of it was bad. So yeah, it was, not everything can be amazingly delicious, right? Sometimes it just happens. After dinner, we went for another drive, and we saw this ice cream shop. I think it was called Mad Dog Creamery, and it had a sign that said fresh funnel cakes. And y'all, I've not had a funnel cake in years and years and years, and it just sounded so good to me. So we went, got the funnel cake, and it was delicious. It was everything you would want in a funnel cake. It was so good. The next day, we traveled home, and for dinner that night, I wanted, a homemade meal, and I hadn't had this brown sugar bacon chili chicken in a while. I first saw this on Tamara's channel, Southern Wife Everyday Life. I'll link it down below. This is really easy, but it is delicious. So in this bowl here, I'm going to add in some brown sugar, and then I'm adding in some chili powder. I just eyeballed the amount of chili powder and brown sugar. You're going to give that a really, really good mix. And then we're going to take some chicken tenders. Now, from my recollection, Tamara's recipe, it doesn't say anything about seasoning the chicken, but I decided to season it a little bit after I took some kitchen scissors and just cut off the end of that, white little tough tender that goes through the tenderloin. I decided to season this with some of the Kinder's brown sugar garlic seasoning. I thought that would go really well with the brown sugar chili and the bacon. So just season both sides of the chicken. And then we're going to take a piece of bacon and wrap it around the chicken. For this recipe, you do not want to use thick bacon. The bacon will still be limp, and your chicken will be totally dried out and overcooked. So you want to use the thinnest bacon you can find. Once I've got all the chicken wrapped, I'm going to dip it on all sides into that brown sugar chili mixture. And I like to cook this on a baking sheet lined with foil. You definitely want to use foil for this. You'll thank me later. With all that brown sugar and bacon, trust me, use foil. And then I like to cook them on a wire rack over the foil. I bake these at 350 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes or so. You just want to cook it until the chicken is at least 165 degrees internal temperature, and you can broil it for a minute or two if you want your bacon to get a little extra crispy. I'd went to a produce stand that sells produce from the Amish a day or so before our trip, and the produce was still good when we got home, so I decided to do some quick roasted zucchini. Have you all seen a yellow zucchini before? I've never seen it. I mean, I've seen yellow squash, but I've never seen a yellow zucchini, so I had to make sure to grab it. It tasted just like regular zucchini, of course. So I chopped the ends off, cut it in half, and then cut each half into quarters. I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil and then season this up however you want. I'm using the Kinder's buttery garlic herb. I'm going to also add in some sea salt and pepper. Give that a good toss, and then you can cook this on top of the stove, grill it, bake it, whatever you want to do. I'm going to air fry it. For the other side, I'm going to make this Great Value Deluxe macaroni and cheese. Just cook it according to the package instructions. So I put the zucchini into the air fryer, cooked it at 400 minutes, good Lord, 400 degrees for about maybe 7 to 9 minutes or so, and I did shake it halfway through, and then this is what the macaroni and cheese looked like when it was done. I did add in a splash of milk. And then I also picked up some tomatoes and cucumbers from that produce stand. So I've got a red tomato, a yellow tomato, and then the cucumber, of course. Here are the plates. So we've got some of the chicken, the macaroni and cheese, and the zucchini. Gary ate later than I did. He was at a meeting when we ate, and so I didn't put the tomatoes and cucumbers on his plate because I knew he'd have to warm it up. So once he got home and warmed it up, he added the tomatoes and cucumbers. But yeah, everything was delicious. That Great Value Deluxe macaroni and cheese is really good. The zucchini was good. It was delicious. Fresh. The tomatoes and cucumbers, homegrown, nothing like it. The store doesn't even compare to homegrown. And then that chicken, like I said, it's delicious. It has so much flavor between the bacon and the brown sugar and the chili. It's delicious. Like I said, check out Tamara's video. It'll be down in the description box below for the recipe. Next up are chicken Caesar sandwiches. I shared how I made these in a video that went up a couple days ago. It was 4 no-cook dinner ideas. So if you are looking for some quick and easy dinner ideas that you don't have to heat up your whole kitchen, go check out that video. I'll link it down in the description box below for you. For the last dinner in this week's video, I did Mahi-Mahi Tacos with a pineapple salsa. This was so good, perfect for a hot day. In this bowl here, I'm going to add in some pineapple. This is fresh pineapple that I diced up. You could, of course, use canned. Next, I'm going to add in some bell pepper. I like red. That's what I've got on hand, so that's what I'm going to use. Then I added in some jalapenos. I did take out the membranes and the seeds on these. I am also adding in some purple onion, followed by cilantro. And if you have the soap gene, you can, of course, leave out the cilantro. I'm going to add in some fresh lime juice, followed by some oil. I'm using olive oil. Use whatever you like. And then we're going to season this to taste with some cumin and salt. You want to give this a stir, and then you can eat it right away. But I set it to the side and allowed it to sit and kind of come together while I was making the rest of dinner. Now I'm going to make a quick Chipotle crema to go on the tacos. So to this little blender here, I'm going to add in some sour cream. You could also do this with Greek yogurt. I'm adding in some mayonnaise, some more lime juice. And I apologize about the camera angle. I know like half of this is cut off. I apologize about that. I was trying to rush through dinner. Gary and I noticed that there was a new season of Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix, and we started watching it. And then I realized I needed to make dinner, so we paused it, and I was like trying to rush through dinner. So next I've added in, did I say lime juice? If not, lime juice. And then we're adding in some chipotles in adobo. I love this little jar. It is so convenient. I whizzed that up, and I felt like it was a little thick for my liking, so I added just a little splash of milk, and that's it. I'm using Mahi-Mahi. I bought a big bag of it at Sam's Club. I just pulled out a few of the fillets and allowed them to thaw. You could use cod, tilapia. Tilapia, you can usually find at a really good price. Just any white fish will be fine. I patted the fish dry with some paper towels really well. And then I'm going to sprinkle some olive oil on them. And I did kind of loosely follow a recipe on this. I used the ingredients the recipe called for. I just didn't use the measurements. I just eyeballed everything. So to season the fish up, I'm going to use some salt, pepper, cumin, garlic powder, chili powder, and paprika. And I seasoned both sides of the fish, and I did take my fingers and rub the spices into the fish. And instead of pulling out all these spices, really you could just use taco seasoning if you just want to do quick and easy, or you could use whatever seasonings you like. So to cook these up, you can cook it any way you want, in the oven, you can grill it, saute it on top of the stove. I'm going with the air fryer again, quick and easy and little cleanup. So I took the air fryer basket and I sprayed it with some cooking spray just to make sure that the fish didn't stick. I put the fish in there, and then I cooked this at about 370 degrees for about 5 or 6 minutes. Just depends on how thick your fish is. Once it flakes easily with a fork, it is done. This is what it looked like. Now for the side, I was going to do like coconut rice and Cuban black beans, but again, we were trying to get back to Unsolved Mysteries. I had to get dinner done quick. I didn't have time for all that. So I remembered my mom telling me a while ago that my sister combine Mexi-corn with creamed corn. And so I was like, I think I've got that in the pantry. And I did. I just had the small cans, which was fine because it was just for the two of us. So I just kind of threw this together, didn't follow a recipe. I looked over and realized I had some of the chopped jalapenos and bell peppers left from the salsa. So I added in a little pat of butter to this saucepan on medium heat. Added the leftover peppers and just let those cook for about 3 minutes until they softened. I added in a can of Mexi-corn that I drained and then a can of cream corn. I wanted some more whole kernels and I didn't have another can of Mexi-corn, so I just drained a can of regular corn. Added that in and then seasoned it up with a little salt and pepper to taste as well as smoked paprika, and I just let that warm through while the fish was cooking in the air fryer. Here are the plates. So I warmed up some tortillas just in a dry skillet on top of the stove, added the mahi-mahi, the pineapple salsa, and that crema, and then we've got that corn. Quick and easy dinner, and we were able to get back to watching our TV shows. All right, that is it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I know that this was mostly about our trip to Pigeon Forge. Next week, it should be more back to normal. We'll be eating mostly at home. So yeah, I hope that you liked this video, kind of joining our little trip with us and a couple quick and easy dinner ideas. If you did like it, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.